Hi everyone, so welcome back to my channel. The video that I'm going to do today for you is just going through some of my favourite sewing tools. I know, especially for a lot of beginner sewers out there, you just don't know what to get, you don't know what's going to be useful, so I thought it would be great if I showed you what I like to use when I'm sewing. So this is just a small selection of what I have. I am someone who likes to kind of have lots of tools and lots of knickknacks and things like that, so I've probably got quite a lot of stuff, but these are the things I use the most. Okay, now the first thing that my favourite thing to use is this is my Patternmaster. Okay, so this is, instead of using any kind of rulers and things like that, it's got basically 0 to 20, it's 20 on either side, so 40 centimetre long ruler on here, and it's also got markings for depth down here as well. So that's really good if you need, those patterns where you need to add on seam allowance and things like that, because you can just line things up with that, say 1.5 centimetre mark down there, and that just makes things a lot quicker. It's also got the curved marks down here. Now these only go up to 1 centimetre, but again you can add on those seam allowances really quickly. And this curved edge right here is really great for when when you're like grading between sizes, you're trying to get a nice curve on the hip and things like that. This is really useful for that. So Patternmaster, you can get them in a variety from like a few different companies, and you can they come in different prices. I think the original Patternmaster is like 30 quid. I think I got mine for like £15 from, I can't remember, somewhere off the internet. I'll put a link at the bottom as well. But yeah, this is great. Comes in metric and imperial if you prefer to measure in inches. But yeah, this is a great tool to have, and that's for people of all standards, whether you're a beginner or advanced. I would always recommend that. And the next thing is one of these. Now I've got two of these. This is a small rotary cutter. I've also got a large one as well. You'll find that the small one is much easier at doing little details. So if you know you've got a pattern which has lots of little curves and small areas, then actually the smaller ones you'll probably find is easier to use, because you can see where the cutting point is on these much easier than on the bigger circled ones. But yeah, these again really useful, and I find they are more accurate at cutting than traditional scissors, but that may be because I'm crappy at using scissors. So like each of their own, but I do like a rotary cutter too. Now to mark my fabric, I use two different things. This is a washable fabric marker. It's just basically a blue felt tip. I've only, maybe the last kind of 6 months, really started using this a lot. Okay, I used to just tailor's tack everything. When you put when you take thread and you basically put a little stitch in, or put stitches, long looping stitches, along where your darts are, for example, or in the dart point and things like that. And that is a great way of marking fabric. It's the traditional way of marking fabric, but it is much more time consuming. You're basically sewing an additional bit every single time you're marking something. Now I literally will maybe mark on a little bit with this in some points. Usually I cheat when it comes down to darts, because I will just mark the dart points, mark the legs, like where it meets the fabric, and because darts for the most part are symmetrical and straight lines, I will just hazard a good calculated guess as to where that line is going to be when I'm sewing them. But that tends to come from practice, and as a beginner I would always recommend for you to mark on your whole dart. Now these pins just wash out. I usually mark wherever I need to, and once I stick it in the wash everything's fine, or you can just spot clean them as well. This only works if there's a light enough coloured fabric, okay, and obviously that's not going to come up on black. And for other darker fabrics, or if there's other things that I don't want to use a felt tip for, I use this. This is a Clover Chaco liner. Basically it's like powdered chalk inside this part here, and it has this little like weedy thing which delivers that into really crisp straight lines. So back when I first started learning to sew, I had those big tailor's chalks, these big triangles, and they are really unwieldy things to use. Like you draw a line, but that line might be like 3 millimeters, 2-3 millimeters thick, so you don't actually know where your line is to that. Now this can give you the same kind of line in terms of that chalk line, but it's a much more precise delivery. So that's a really useful bit of kit there. What I also like to have on hand are some of these. These are pinking shears. This is just cheap hair that I got from Hobbycraft recently. These are great if you hate snipping notches on curves, okay? So if you get into the habit of trimming your seam allowances with these, and if you trim them quite close to the seam line itself, you can get away without having to put notches in your fabrics into the curves and things. Not always the case, especially if it's a really, really tight curve, but the majority of things, this will save you a lot of time, so I definitely recommend it. This pair was just £6, and you know what, it's an absolute time saver. Other thing I like to use is this. This is it's a buttonhole chisel. I think it's about 12 mm wide, and these are great for getting a really crisp line through buttonholes. So you know, when you've stitched the buttonhole, you're trying to cut through it, you know, you're using your stitch ripper to do that. It's very easy to kind of go too far, or you know, do too much and actually catch a lot of the buttonhole stitches as well. This avoids that. Okay, so you'd have a cutting mat behind your fabric. You have your buttonhole already sewn on, and you push this right on top into the middle, bit of pressure over the top, and gives you a really crisp cut through that. Just saves a bit of time, makes it very, very neat as well. But I love using one of these. It's great for denim as well. Denim, especially these thicker fabrics where it's harder to get through, this just makes it a lot easier at getting that cut through the fabric, especially in a neat way. My last and my most beloved thing is this. These are my thread snips. Again, just a really cheap couple of pounds there, but I find that these are easier to use than stitch rippers. And that's a personal preference, everyone's a little bit different, and there are always occasions where stitch rippers are better, but for just like, you know, snipping loose threads, for getting through seams, and I like to use these where they've got really tiny fine scissors tips on those, and you know, they've got a nice ergonomic handle, and I really like using those as well. And again, these are like, I think I got this off eBay for a couple of pounds, they're really cheap, but a great tool to have, and I definitely recommend it. There are loads of sewing tools out on the market, lots of things that are useful, lots of things that aren't, okay? Everyone needs to find things that suit them and suit their sewing style. These are just things that I know work really well for me, and things that I use every day in my sewing. So tell me your thoughts. What do you like to work with? What do you like to use? I'd love to hear more about it. Leave a comment below and let me know. But it was nice to see you. Until next time.